Water, synonymous with its soothing influence, but the source of conflict at a convention devoted to its future. When activists descended on the Fifth World Water Forum in Istanbul, Turkish police responded with the kind of force used for quelling violent riots.
I won't let anyone sold my country, sold my water. It's my right.
Day one of this international conference set the stage for a debate that overshadowed its lofty goal of bridging divides for water. John Sowers with the NGO Water Advocates.
In my opinion, what the World Water Forum is about is getting more attention to the water and sanitation crisis. This is a huge global crisis. Just under 1 billion people lack access to water. 2.6 billion people lack access to sanitation. This has huge health implications.
Sauer says the urgency of the water crisis cannot be overstated. More than 1 billion people lack access to safe water, and more than twice that many lack even basic sanitary facilities. Diseases caused by unsafe drinking water and inadequate sanitation are claiming lives every day.
I think a debate that we're hearing is water a human right or is it an economic commodity? And I think actually we have to answer yes to both those questions.
It's also a business, and among the 25,000 attendees here, including ministers from more than 120 countries, are representatives from the private sector.
We take the starting point that water is a business. Whether it's in the private or public sector, it's a major business with very large financial requirements.
It's that financial stake that worries Maud Barlow. The senior advisor on water issues to the UN General Assembly says she is a thorn in the side of forum organizers.
We're spoiling their party in every conceivable way because this is really about one development model for water, and that's the privatization model.
Barlow, a Canadian author who wrote Blue Gold, says the forum is anything but inclusive, especially when it comes to dissenting voices.
The security is tight because what they're about is promoting privatization, promoting a corporate vision of the world, and they want to pretend to the world that that's the consensus of the world, and it isn't.
Activists organized an alternate water forum at a nearby hotel to set their own water agenda. Surprisingly, it's Sauer from an NGO, typically apolitical, who takes issue with the protesters at the forum.
There's plenty of private sector approaches that are working very, very well, and there's lots of public-private partnerships that are actually providing water to people and of a better quality and of more efficiently. To have this juxtaposition and say, oh, there's no way the private sector has a role here, I just don't believe it. I think it's a little bit naive, actually.
Gary White, the co-founder of an NGO called Water Partners, agrees.
I think that water is both a human right at a certain level, but it's also an economic good, and it's a scarce good. And if you just have the attitude that it can be free to everyone, it's never going to be used wisely, it's never going to be conserved, and you're never going to see people assigning the proper value to it.
Marianne Manahan of Focus on the Global South says that privatization may work in theory, but in her native Manila, she has seen it fail in practice.
They used the water crisis in Asia as a staging point to launch privatization experiments across the region. But for the last 10 to 15 years, we've been the laboratory of privatization projects and guinea pigs. It has failed to deliver its promises of efficient delivery, transparent and democratic water systems, of lower prices. Those promises have failed miserably.
Both sides of the privatization debate agree on one reality. If the water crisis is not resolved, it will dwarf oil when it comes to cost for war.
As people start competing over water rights and water sources, then they're going to be forced to fight over those. Unless we can get to a rational use of those water resources and a fair use, then it's going to increasingly spark conflicts. We're going to see escalation and wars because of it.
A route of conflict unlike any other, because unlike oil, there is no alternative for water.